All right, hello members of the press, and hello out there at Facebook on the internet. We are here live from Los Angeles at the Passengers Press Conference. Hooray! We're here in our own private little luxury spaceship, and so there are a couple of housekeeping notes. For all of you fans watching on Facebook Live, we're going to take the end of the press conference to ask some of your best questions. So make sure to comment down below, and in the meantime, to all the members of the press with me here today, in space, nobody can hear you scream, and the same goes for the internet. So please look for Patrick and Tess, and we're going to have you use the microphone to ask all your questions so that everybody out there can hear you, okay? That's about all the housekeeping business that I have to do up here in space. So let's welcome on our attendees for the Passengers Press Conference today. I'm taking a large step and introducing screenwriter John Spaihts. Mr. Michael Sheen, Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt, Cell phones live on the internet to make sure to be as wildly inappropriate as possible. That is not a directive that anyone told me to say, but that was said, everybody. So I want to get started by talking about how this is a very unique project in several ways, but John and Morten specifically. Something that cannot happen in zero gravity for you guys. It's true. Super lucky right now. This is an original story. And even though it's set against a huge backdrop of space and it has beautiful effects, this is a story about people. So, John, let's kick it off. Can you talk about your inspiration for starting this story?
Sure. I was fascinated by the notion of the vastness of space and the fact that it can produce a solitude, a solitary experience vaster than anything that we can experience in our lives. Just the metaphorical value of that, how alone we are traveling between the stars, caught my attention. And somebody asked me once, like, who is the most lonely person in the history of the human race? And it's probably one of the moon astronauts. Like the person who's farthest from the nearest human being, farthest from the nearest human being in human history was Michael Collins, the astronaut commanding capsule orbiting the moon when the other two guys got to land. He's on the far side of the moon from those guys. He's farther from the nearest human being than any other person that's ever been. And I thought, all right, what do you take that distance and magnify it by many orders of magnitude? So I fell in love with the notion of the man's alone between the stars and where that story would take him.
Did you listen to a lot of lonely themed songs to write this?
Actually, the beautiful thing is I listened to a lot of Thomas Newman scores to write this. It's a lot. And he was my go-to mood music for writing the film and ended up scoring the film, which was really true.
How did this isolation with intimacy affect your relationship with this film?
I mean, what happens is that as a director, you try to find what's important for you in the story, what you want to find the core. And to me, this movie is actually about what we fundamentally need to live a full life. What is it that we as humans need anything to explore? That if you take the loneliness, but to me, they're also trapped in time. We always live ahead. We're always planning what we're going to do in the future. What happens if you take two characters and say there is no future, there is only now? What is it that we need now? And to me, these two characters need two things. They need to love something. They need to love. I think it's more important that they love somebody than actually to be loved back. And also they need to fulfill something in them. They need to build. Jim has a very real thing. He needs to build something. He needs to build. And Aurora needs to write a story. She doesn't know what story it is. She thinks it's about something great outside her, but it's actually a story about herself. And that is what I think we all need as people. We need to be able to feel love, and we need to be able to complete something in us. And that was what was important for me, attacking this story. And I think that's why it's so unique story is that it's an important and interesting story, but it's intimate story about these two characters, but it has this vast epic scope. So it's both a juggling act of doing this film, but that's also why it was so unique that you can take something is so private and personal and intimate, and at the same time give it this big scope of space and this spaceship and this world, which is very unique and only belongs to this film.
Now, speaking of love, Jennifer, did you love being alone with those two knuckleheads shooting this movie?
I did. Which two?
Kind of a trick.
There's 5 people. I had a blast. I mean, it's really rare that you get to be so intimate with filmmaking. It's normally an ensemble. I've never worked with so few actors before. So, and it is such a human story. So there was so much interesting conversation with Morten, with John. It's such an original story. So we could just keep diving in. And I've always wanted to work with both of these. Whatever their names are. So I was very excited to be stuck in space in Atlanta with them.
Michael, can you talk about the physical requirements of being Arthur in a whole rig?
Yeah.
Your character has no legs.
That's right. I had my legs
Spell it out.
amputated 6 months before we started midnight, just to try it out. No, I had to walk around. I was so excited on my first day to walk onto the set to meet Jen and Chris.
Not you.
And I thought I'm gonna look fairly spiffy as I walk on in my costume. And then I was given the green tights that I had to wear at all times. And I knew my chances with Jen were over.
Little did you know they only got higher.
I would just say that the things that just the technical aspect of what Michael is doing is incredible. I mean, he's an android bartender having to pour drinks that fast by being swooshed around on a machine and make it look like it's the more natural thing. I mean, just try pour a glass without looking at it. I mean, it's all happened like this, and it's incredible. And then also performing and giving this beautiful level of humanity and also being non-human at the same time, which is incredible. I was just blown away every time we had Arthur on set because it seems so effortless and it's so hard and so complicated. So kudos to that.
And I make a mean martini now.
And you're also really good at clearing that martini with your face.
Yes. It's a little twitch that I have that I've tried to get rid of. I've been thrown out of countless bars because of it.
That was an improv, wasn't it?
It was. Morten said, let's just have fun with this one. And I thought, I know what I'll do. And it made it into the movie. It's great.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Chris, Jim he needs tangible things in his life. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I notice is that's kind of juxtaposed against this world where there aren't a lot of tangible things. You know, your breakfast comes from a machine, things are done for you.
Right.
Is that something that you really related to personally, that quality in him?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, it's a big part of who the character is, you know, he's leaving Earth for a reason, and men like him are no longer needed in this, you know, this world of Earth in the near to, you know, distant future where everything is automated and you don't fix things anymore, you just replace them. And so he's leaving that world for a new world where he could be a pioneer, where he could be someone who has to, you know, he's finding a world that has his types of problems. And I guess he's a bit of a throwback. So in that way, I guess there's part of me that longs to, you know, simplify my life, especially now. I mean, we're on this press tour and I've got like a team of babysitters around me. I've become increasingly useless. Like, I don't know where my phone, I honestly have no idea where my phone is right now. But if I go, phone, like that, someone will bring it to me. And so like, I don't know if that's like a tactic to keep them employed or something, but like, I've become more and more of a baby. So I guess I kind of relate to that in a way, but But unlike him, I don't want to do anything about it.
It's good to know. That's what that motion means, though, guys. So don't worry. It's not Blake's here. Just get him his phone.
Passport.
Let's go out to you guys in the audience.
Chris, right here.
Yo.
I want you to answer a question that Morten and Jennifer talked about, the intimacy of this. This is by design. This is a huge film, which you've done those in the past. But did it feel like one of the more intimate projects you worked on, almost like a stage production, because of the small cast and sort of the way it was shot?
There were certainly elements to that. Like, you know, it is more intimate. It was different for me in several ways. Some days did feel like a stage play, but unlike a stage play, this is such a giant movie, and it's really told in snapshots, so there's not a lot of scenes that are more than a couple of pages long, you know, maybe a few scenes, but it's tiny little glimpses into the period of time that we're watching these characters for, you know, whatever that ends up being, a long time. And so it did feel more intimate than anything I've ever done. It felt more, there wasn't as much, you couldn't distribute the responsibility of the acting to a large cast. So I was in almost every scene, like 99% of the whole movie. I had to show up and be there all day. But it doesn't necessarily feel that way like a play or something where you're sitting and just talking, you know. There were moments that felt that way, but there were also moments that were really physically grueling where I was essentially a prop. I'm like just hung by wires flipping around, and you know, I don't say shit, but I get bounced into some things. And like, so those days were physically grueling, and they were tiring in one way, but they weren't mentally exhausting. There was no, you know, I just had to be a prop. And then there were other days that were mentally exhausting. So it was like a nice balance of those things. It's certainly different than anything I've ever done before, and more intimate, and not only in the storytelling portion, but just the process of filmmaking. It's like, it would be just Jen and I, or Jen and I and Michael. And that's who we had. And we're on this great big set, this beautiful set that they built, a practical set. The Grand Concourse is 4 stories tall, 1,000 feet long. It's like, you know, huge, and it's a practical set. They had 8 miles of LED lights, and it really was lonely in that way, you know? It was like, it was just us, so I don't even remember what your question was. To be honest with you, I'm starting to sweat.
Hi, I'm with The Advocate, and my question's obviously going to be about diversity, and it's for Chris and Jennifer because you've seen the pods. So obviously the purpose of the Homestead program is to colonize new planets, so the ideal homesteader would be young, straight, and healthy. Do you think the passenger list of the other people in the pods would be diverse and include LGBT people, as well as older adults who may or may not be able to have offspring and colonize the planet?
Well, hopefully we're well into the future where none of these things are even a conversation anymore, where they've gone from issues to conversation to hopefully forgotten about and everybody's treated equally. So I would, yes, of course I would assume that there's
yeah, I mean,
diversity.
You know, the point of the colonization of these planets is not necessarily to branch out because we're like seeking to survive. You know, Earth is still the cradle of civilization. It's not a post-apocalyptic movie, so I don't think there's a scenario where you have a ship full of people where they're like, please send our most viable humans off. You know, it was like, can you afford the ticket? Then you can go. So I bet you there's especially, you know, that far into advance in the future, there's probably some people who were several hundred years old, if you imagine, you know, like they got a bunch of money, there's great technology in medicine, they can like keep replacing parts, maybe they're 300, 400 years old, and they got a ton of money, they're like some like oligarch from Russia or something, you know, like they're probably on there, and there's all kinds of people. Now, Jim finds himself in what's called a desirable trade, and so his ticket is purchased by the Homestead Company. So in that regard, I think anyone who's valuable to the Homestead Company would be you know, and who'd be worth money to the Homestead Company would go. So that would include all people from the whole spectrum. You know, anyone who could essentially provide a service that's an old world service. If you can, you know, if you're a member of the LGBTQ community, but you know, and you're really good at plumbing, then, you know, they'll send you, I'm sure. And then every plumbing job you get, you're going to have to give some money back to the Homestead Company.
Just a shout out to Facebook Live. Make sure that you ask us your questions down in the comments. We're going to take those questions at the end of the press conference. And in the meantime, who has the microphone for our next question?
For Jen and Chris, this is just a simple question. Why are you the cutest things on the planet? And why did it take Hollywood so long to bring you two together?
Oh. How long do I have
They
to
said
answer
no
this?
to us for a while. I tried to get him. First of all, you're adorable. Thank you.
That is very nice. Thank you.
I've tried to work with Chris before, and it just didn't work out. So this was.
I was like, meh.
That basically sums it up.
We were waiting for the perfect project,
Yeah.
and then we found it.
And in the meantime, Press, quote him on that. Meh.
Meh. No, don't you dare.
Just kidding, Press. Don't do
Okay.
that. Who's next with the microphone out there?
Well, you said you were looking for the perfect project. What exactly, specifically in the script, made you want to play your parts? It's for Jen and Chris.
It was the most original story I can remember even experiencing in a really long time, not just reading or filming myself. It was the most fun I've ever had reading a script. It was just a total page turner. I loved the story. And, you know, when you're reading the script, you don't have all the special effects. You don't have this amazing ship. You don't have all of the other elements that came together to make this movie so impressive. All you had was this very human story between these two people. So I fell in love immediately with it. And then, you know, and Chris was already attached, so I couldn't have said yes fast enough.
For me, it was the script as well, and you know, John just painted an amazing picture with this story. It's original. I'd done some press for the last couple movies I did, and I know that a lot of times from the press corps I'd hear these questions like, why don't we see original movies anymore? Because I would be like promoting something that was maybe a remake or promoting something that fell under the umbrella of like a larger franchise or something like that. And I heard that question and I was like, I didn't necessarily have a great answer to why that doesn't happen. So when I heard or when I read this script and realized it was just so original and that it is a piece of intellectual property that's not based on a previous title or, you know, doesn't have reach because it's like the fucking Q*bert remake, whatever, you know. It was like, wow, that's really refreshing. I know that people are really hungry for this kind of a thing. They want something original. So the script was just so fabulous. And I was told, when I read it, I was told to imagine Jen Lawrence in the lead role. And I was like, damn, okay. So I read it, picturing Jennifer, and then at the end, the first thing, I read the whole thing, and then I called my manager. I was like, this is amazing, but is it, I mean, how possible is it that it could be Jen? And if it wasn't Jen, who could it possibly be? And there was no one else that got me excited. And so when she agreed to do it, it was like, oh my God, you know, I can't believe that it's going to happen. And then Morten, being the director he is, and I was a huge fan of his, and you know, it just and you know, with Michael jumping on board, it's just like we kept getting dealt these amazing cards, and you know, I think it's rare. It's really rare to have projects like this that just come together and are perfect projects.
I almost consider an extra cast member to be the Avalon itself. It's so vivid and it's so stunning. And you've already said how many LED lights were used on the set. How many miles?
8 miles.
8 miles.
That's
It's
amazing. Oh my God, it's the
It's an
Eminem
Eminem movie,
number.
so it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
No, I mean we built the sets were big because I didn't want it to be a green. I mean, this is a performance piece. I wanted them to feel. I wanted them to be able to act, and it's hard if you put an actor in front of a green screen, and they have to imagine everything. I mean, acting is responding and reacting to things. So we wanted to build as much as possible. So we had these huge sets, which, you know, scared the studios. Like, why can't you just do it as effects? But we wanted really to build this and make this this unique ship. And I have to do a shout out to our production designer, Guy Diaz, who is absolutely brilliant. And we also wanted to make a spaceship that is highly technical. It's has all these rotating parts that moves at 51 meters a second to create gravity. Everything is built. There's a lot of thoughts behind the whole ship, how it's constructed. But at the same time, it's also inspired by like Art Deco or old art history, which I think is like we wanted to create something that also exists out of time, that is both futuristic but also is based on our history and our sense of design. So it's nothing that alienates you. It's a and that's why I think it's kind of unique that that it is the whole idea is that both goes back in time and forward in time.
Do you have a favorite piece of the ship that was practical that might surprise people?
There's a few. I want people to look at the carpet in the bar that Michael is, and whoever can see what movie is that carpet from. There's a direct quotation.
He will give you $10 million.
Yeah. There's a very specific from one of my favorite directors in his movies. I quoted a very famous shot in his where a carpet is used. So I took the same. I wanted the designer to say, I want that carpet, but do the opposite colors, like invert the colors, and then create that carpet.
We can only assume that it is from 8 Mile and the carpet.
It's whoever can find that out. It's
clearly. Yeah.
Babe, Pig in the City.
I think that's $50 million.
One of my favorite
All right.
movies of all time.
Next with
No
the
joke.
microphone.
Yes.
Babe, Pig in the City.
Hi, everybody. Chris, love your name. I'm Chris from Q Syndicate. Hi. This question's for Jen and Chris, everybody actually. If you could get lost in space with any famous person, who would it be and why?
Oh.
Then you're supposed to, yeah. It was like this, like, and then this.
Like this? Yes, that's it.
Besides each other.
Late amendment. Living or dead, anyone?
Anyone.
Wow, that's a really good question.
Don't do dead. You don't know what they're like.
Right.
Yeah.
Oprah.
Oprah?
Beyonce?
No, I'd get jealous of Beyonce after a while and probably rip her hair out.
I would need someone really funny. Well, my wife is famous, so I'm going to say, of course, my wife would be first. So I would take my wife, but I would try to do someone really funny. Maybe like George Carlin or something.
I'm going to say Mr. Ed, because you could talk to it and you could ride around on him. Twofer.
How many days have you been planning that?
Just came. I just imagine being on our set, but riding a horse around the set,
Yeah.
which we never got to do.
Well, the life expectancy
I have a
isn't
feeling
that long.
you would like almost immediately regret that decision.
Do you think?
Yeah. You'd be like, at the time it seemed like a good idea,
Yeah. So much horse shit to clean up.
Horse shit, actually. One more question out there with the microphone.
It's really simple. Would you go? And if you did, what would be the easiest part of the journey and what would be the hardest part of the journey for you?
I would go. I mean, I'd like to think that I would, because there's zero chance you'll ever hold me to it. I think the most exciting, yeah. I mean, the amazing part would obviously be the adventure, the life-changing adventure. And then the negative part would obviously be, by the time you land, everyone you've ever known or loved is dead.
Yeah. I tend to think that I think I would go. There's something in all of us, I think, this innate desire to be explorers and to just turn over every rock and just see what's out there. And if I found myself in their position to where, it's in the future and we're on Earth, and I think I could see myself going. I could see myself, maybe not now because it's untested and I don't want to be like the guinea pig who dies 300 feet into space. They're like, well, we got that wrong. But if this was tested and tried and true and they knew it was working, I think I could see it. It's kind of cool to go to a planet that had not been touched by people yet.
Very cool.
When I was a kid and in school, in the summer holidays, when my mum and dad used to go to work, I would sleep later and later every day until I would hear the car door slamming outside with them coming back from work, and I would get out of bed and go, I've been doing stuff all day. And they went away for the weekend, and I missed an entire day. I slept through an entire day. And if I was so shocked by it that I think if it was like 90 years of sleeping, that would have freaked me out. So just by missing one day, it scared me. So I don't think I would want to do that.
But I really don't think that's normal. I think you need to slow your roll.
Oh, and riding Mr. Ed around the set is normal?
Yeah. I think you're going through something, and we should take your microphone off.
Okay. This was a long time ago.
God, a whole day.
A whole day.
Wow.
What's the one scene that you hope audiences will love most? No spoilers.
There is a wonderful and terrible scene in the middle of the movie where the relationship between Jim and Aurora suddenly changes. And I think it is the most amazing and punishing and brilliant thing in the movie. And I hope people see it like I see it.
Do you just watch that on screen and go like, yeah, I wrote the hell out of that?
No, I'm delighted to report that when I watch that scene on screen, I forget I'm looking at a movie. And I'm just living in that moment with those characters and feeling the feelings. Like that scene makes me forget myself.
It's a lot of feelings. Lowell Reynolds wants to know, if you could bring 5 things in space with you, what would they be? Let's start with you.
Oh my God. In space,
Yeah.
I would have a spaceship.
Smart.
Thing one.
Spacesuit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Down to 3.
Down to 3. It's if you're going to be lots of food and
What can't
lots
you?
of movies.
Oh, nice. Name one movie that you would have to bring with you, or else you would feel like an incomplete person. No pressure.
No pressure. I mean,
It was well tested, and you were not going to blow up 300 feet into space.
Toothbrush.
Smart. Dental hygiene.
Yeah.
Well done.
Probably some sort of med kit.
Okay.
You know, with like various ointments. I got ointment into the interview. Art supplies. Maybe
Nice.
like you know.
What's your medium?
I bring 10,000 sketchbook. That's 3 things. Probably some sort of. The 4th thing I'm not going to tell you, and then the 5th thing would be like a. I'd probably bring a Bible. Those would be my 5 things.
Nice. Those are your 5 things. The 4th one remains a mystery. Just make it up and say that he said it.
Yeah.
Can I tell people to do that? Don't answer that.
Yeah, you can. You'll probably be right.
All right, Jennifer Aldonza Everdeen. Notice that last name.
Oh no.
Wants to know, what was the funniest moment on set?
I mean, it got to a point where I started writing them down.
Where do you keep them? Where'd you write them down?
We were having like our goodbye gifts, you know, like when you wrap up, and so I couldn't think of anything to buy him, so I just wrote down some of our inside jokes and was like, "Here, Chris."
Yeah, it was a really nice gift.
That's super cheap of you.
No, but we would. I cracked up every day, all day. That it got. I mean, I don't think I could possibly find one. There's no way.
They are very funny. I mean, they're laughing, having jokes all the time. I'm not funny on set. Really, seriously. And one of the last days of shooting, I actually said something that made them laugh, and Chris actually said, "Wow, Morten made a joke."
What was it?
I can't remember. It wasn't that
I
funny,
should've
but it
written
was
it
at least a
down.
little attempt to it.
Didn't end up in the book.
It didn't end up in the
Doesn't
book.
end up
No. So they are actually as genuinely funny as they think every day. So it's
Aw. He's
Did that
funny.
did that happen when you called cut? Like there are some really intense emotional scenes in this film, but did everybody kind of blow off steam? Did you blow off steam by not being funny with them when you called cut?
I mean, I'm more focused. I mean, it's, and I think that because it is so emotional, I think it's needed. I mean, there's a need to have levity around it because you're going to visit some dark places, and I have just. I mean, their performance are so extraordinary in this film. I just feel very privileged to be working with both of them, and they give so much on screen. So of course you need that levity. You need to let off steam because you're going to go into a very private and very dark place, perhaps, or a very intense place. And I don't know what they do there, really, if they visit some demons or whatever. But it's part of a process, and every actor has their own process, and I think it really impresses me that all this laughter and fun, and okay, in 2 minutes we're going to do a scene where you're going to have a breakdown, and it's how it is, and it's just impressed me how they are able to. Paul said sometimes Jenny wants that. Okay, give me 5 seconds, and. There was just this big talk about a burger or something that was food poisoning, whatever. They were both laughing about something, and then 5 seconds, and then out comes this, extraordinary performance, and it just blew me away every day.
Hey, Michael. Side note: what were you serving there at the bar? What were you? What was Arthur giving everyone to drink?
Water
by the
and
way?
olives.
Yeah, lovely water and olives. That lovely
Worst
cocktail.
bartender ever.
Yeah. Well, no. It was, it was just a little bit of Arthur juice. Oh. It's a cocktail. It's a cocktail.
Sounds both delicious, terrifying.
He has a little
and
nozzle.
Quasi-legal.
And a little special
dispenser.
That's where the nozzle is?
Yeah.
And if everybody in the room will join us after the press conference for some serving of the space juice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's terrifying. And that brings us to the end of the press conference for passengers. Thank you to everybody here in our very own private luxury ship. Thank you to everybody, all our Rotten Tomatoes fans on Facebook Live. And make sure that you see Passengers in theaters December 21st.